Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Southeast Radio.
Now let's meet our first guest. Blaise Brosnan is a good friend of Business Matters and always willing to impart some valuable business wisdom to our listeners. So in this time of crisis, there is no better man to discuss the challenges facing Wexford business owners and, more importantly, how they can be overcome. Blaise, I would like to get your thoughts on COVID-19 and the impact which you are seeing it having on businesses across the county.
Good morning, Carl. I suppose it's varied. The majority of businesses are impacted negatively, but there's also some businesses that are impacted positively if you're in the niche of anything to do with health or any of that kind of specific area. Those that are impacted negatively, I suppose there's kind of two main categories again. One is those that are completely closed down, and others that are maybe part of the business closed down, but part of it kind of ongoing because they're supplying what's classified as an essential service or something like that, you know.
When the first effects of the COVID crash were hitting businesses, what advice were you giving to your clients?
Very clear advice, and it was advice that I observed really, and during the recession, when we came into the recession back in 2007 or 8, the people that came through that recession best were those who cut deep and cut very fast and tried to preserve the balance sheet. They were the people that tended to come through that recession best. Whereas a lot of people, they were slow to react, they were slow to kind of adjust the size of their business. And what happened in that scenario is that whatever reserves they had in their balance sheet were wasted and they had nothing left. So we were very clear to cut deep and cut fast.
Now, preserving cash flow is critical in this current environment, but apart from reducing staff numbers, how is this best achieved?
Well, what we were advising was that it was a bit, I suppose, kicking the can down the road a small bit in the sense of, say, the VAT payments and that, to defer those, to defer loan payments from the banks. Any areas that could be deferred from a cash flow point of view, even for companies that could pay at that particular stage, we were advising to hold on to that cash because they'll need that to reboot their business whenever this cycle passes as it will.
And in terms of the herd mentality, what is it and why should it be avoided in times of crisis?
You know, there is a herd. We're all part of the herd in some ways, right? And in business, if you want to be successful in business, you have to be commercially selfish for your own agenda. So each business person has to look at their own kind of business model and say, what's right for this model? And whatever the hard decisions need to be made and need to be made quickly and not looking over one's shoulder when one is making them. No, that's a hard thing to say. And everybody is talking about for the greater good. But a business that's not going to be around at the end is going to be of no use to anyone. So it behoves business people to try and do what they can, seek the advice. There's a good bit of advice out there, but not alone seek it, but implement it.
Blaise, it's probably true to say that for businesses to have the best chance of survival post-COVID-19, they need to be engaging with the state agencies and availing of every support available to them. But why do you think so many businesses have yet to avail of those supports?
Yeah, the good guys and the people that will be successful are those who are availing of those and on it the first day or the first couple of days. I got a call this morning from somebody in relation to one of the supports, and they only heard about it yesterday. They obviously heard about it a long time ago, but it only registered with them yesterday. And that's 3 or 4 weeks into it, you know. And it's hard to have pity for someone like that, really, in one sense, because there's no lack of information out there, but there is a lack of kind of, I suppose, professionalism in relation to what do I need in my business to make sure that I'm around afterwards.
What other supports do you think would benefit local businesses in these challenging times?
I think down the road around June, July, August, September, that period, that's the period, I think, where working capital is going to be very scarce. And some scheme to support working capital, I think, in small business will be critical at that period. I believe it will be more critical at that period than it is just at the moment.
There's a lot of business people listening across County Wexford this morning where their businesses have closed completely. What can they do now in terms of using this valuable time off from their business to be able to prepare for the future?
I would say every business person has to look at their processes, the way they were doing the business before versus the way they want to do the business going forward. You know, things like building procedures, templates, making things kind of more streamlined. I had a call yesterday now from a lady down in the Midlands there, and she's in the beauty business. She's both retail and wholesale. And obviously, because of what has happened, she had to withdraw her reps from the road. But she tells me now she's not going to put them back on the road when this is over. Why? Because she has developed the virtual channel far better than she ever thought possible, and she's going to focus in there. So her business model going forward will be quite different to her business model in the past. No, she's still in the same game, but her channels to the market will be different. She's utilising the present time to get that the mechanism for that in place, and I think she'll have a far better business at the end of the day.
And just on that particular topic, do you think that remote working will become the norm as a result of this?
I don't think it'll become the norm, but it will certainly be enhanced a good bit beyond the point where it was before COVID-19 came in. I think there'll be a mix, probably a better mix of virtual and normal bricks and mortar type of trading.
We have a huge reliance here in this county on the tourism trade. What's your outlook for that over the next 12 to 18 months?
It all depends really on how long this fear of the virus stays around really, because people only spend when they're not afraid. People save when there's a fear factor. And it depends very much, and you and I don't know, any of us are doing a guessing how long the impact of this might last. If it's relatively short-lived, I don't think the impact will be massive.
And as we focus now next on restaurants, huge number of those across County Wexford, when they do reopen, Blaise, they're going to have to obey the social distancing rules of 2 metres. Yeah. That will probably make an awful lot of them unviable.
Oh, I would think so. It's a lot of pubs and restaurants and that kind of, where there's groups congregating and all of that. I would say you'll see quite a change of ownership in that business over the next 2 or 3 years. I had a guy that rang me the other day now. He had 3 pubs and 3 restaurants. And like his view, like he'd have a good business, but he's obviously closed now. His strategy going forward is he has earmarked 3 more to buy whenever they're gone into receivership, basically. So he's waiting around for the opportunity. And he sees this as an opportunity. I know it's somebody else's problem, but that's the way he as a businessman is looking at it. It's an opportunity for him now to kind of build his empire, you know?
Definitely, Blaise, COVID-19 is a serious wake-up call for retailers that aren't online.
Oh, absolutely. But I think there's one other strong message that I'd like to get across, Karl. I know it's late in the day now that people can't do anything about it, but they can for the future. It proves again that during good times, businesses need to build surpluses in their balance sheet. In other words, they need to trade well in good times so that they build a balance sheet that will take them through the bad times. And if there was ever a requirement for that, now is the time, really. This should show us, you know. And that's what good businesses do. They're not afraid to make money in good times. They build their reserves in their balance sheet, and then they have a bit of capacity to go through the bad times. It's actually frightening, I think, when you think about it. The percentage of the working population and the percentage of the small, medium-type business out there who are living within a month of going bust at any one moment in time.
And finally this morning, Blaise, you've always shared your wisdom with the Business Matters listeners, and perhaps such wisdom has never been more important. So before we go, what advice do you have for the business community of County Wexford this morning?
I would say use the situation we're in, the lockdown situation we're in, to plot the roadmap for the future under two time frames. One is the immediate time frame, which is from today for the next 6 months. And secondly, the time frame from 6 months, then maybe up to 2 or 3 years. But the first time frame is about survival and just reopening. I think that's critical. But secondly, then is from once you get your feet under the table again in your business, where do you want to drive it forward? And one of the questions I'm often asked, when I speak at conferences and things like that, is what's the most important ingredient in relation to business success? And my standard answer to that is clarity of purpose.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Blaise Brosnan from the Management Resource Institute, and I would like to thank Blaise for sharing his thoughts on COVID-19 with us this morning. After the break, Jason Ward, the new General Manager of Dell Technologies Ireland, will be discussing its acquisition of EMC and the company's approach to innovation. So do stay tuned for that.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
South